Welcome, everybody. This is Barbara Bertucci in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's my honor and privilege to have Mary Jaz Meyer here. Yay! And she's just an amazing healer and intuitive and just has a master of blending it all together. And I'm just so glad to now have you share with us how you do that and what you do.
Well, thank you, Barb. I truly appreciate it. Let's see if I can get my lighting here to not make me look like I'm sitting in the dark. It's so bright here today that everything's coming in backlit. Um, anyway, thank you for having me here to support the wonderful work of wellness that we all do. I believe we're all caregivers at heart, or we wouldn't be in this line of business. We wouldn't be in the healing, in the helping arts. And as I was chatting with you about what I really believe is one of the strengths of Nikon's products is that we're all focused on wellness. And what Nikon does really well is to do wellness that's passive so that we can make a choice, a proactive choice about our health that is working in the background 24/7 when we're sleeping on our sleep systems, when we're using the back magnet, when we're having the insoles in, all that's actively working in a passive way. So it's very it's working in the moment, but it's doing it without us having to take extra action out of our life other than considering the purchase in the first place and putting it in place. I mean, it's one thing to own the objects, it's another thing to actually put them to use every day. Um, and and then I invite everybody. I believe that we wouldn't be in this work if we weren't all intrinsically um, just people who were heart-centered, who care about others, and who, in this time and place of um, doing heart-centered work and doing work that is puts us in the role of a caregiver. And many of us in our 50s, 60s, 70s are caregiving our own parents, and sometimes even earlier. Um, I went through that a few years ago before my mom passed, was to spend a couple years of my life um, actively going back and forth to her home and looking after her along with other family members. And it it takes a certain kind of focus. And I wish I had had more of these tools around. Um, I remember it was my mother who really encouraged me at that time. For her, she really noticed how much the healing work, the stuff that I would just do instinctively for her. And she said, you know, you really need to do this because you're very good at this. Even just sitting with her and instinctively putting my hand on her lower leg. I hadn't seen her in a couple of weeks, and sitting with her. And then she said to me, well, you know, that leg's been hurting for a long while and now it doesn't hurt anymore. You know, that kind of thing where you're just like, you just follow what is your instinct. And I love to encourage people to recognize that they're far more connected to um, those people we love, those people around us. We're far more intuitive than we really give ourselves credit for. I don't know if any of you here in the Zoom actually might resonate with that, that you recognize, you know, that you know instinctively when someone's calling you, you get an insight, you think about them a few minutes before the phone rings, um, you know, that we have those levels of awareness, and it's not often encouraged. So we sort of dismiss it as, oh, that was just a one-off, rather than, oh, wait, that's the way I operate all the time. Um, it's the way I think, and it gives us the ability when we meet someone to go, wow, I know they could possibly use a lot of different things that we offer, but let me, for some reason, I'm going to bring this one out and show it to them. And then they go, oh my gosh, my feet are so hurtful. And I would love to get some support that way. You know, it isn't always that I mean, I always encourage people to ask questions because it's really how we learn from one another. Um, and yet there's a level of awareness that each of us has. And I think that we hone over time. Um, so I encourage all my clients to learn different strategies. And If you'd like, I could teach you one of my favorite stress reducers.
Yeah,
Works in about 30
love it.
seconds.
Yeah.
So anytime that you're in a place where it starts to feel like I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, I'm feeling like I have a lot of options and I don't know what to do, or just someone said something that's painful or hurtful, and you're in that space of just kind of going, okay, I could choose something else here. Um, this is called an FO hold. I'm trying to find a really fun name for this, but it's literally named after the places on the body that you hold. So F is for frontal, the frontal area of your head, or in the frontal area of your brain. And the other is occipital. It's the place in the back of your head. So it's really simple. It doesn't matter which hand you use. It can be either's. Um, and you can trade them out if it feels like you need a little switch. Um, but what this does is this part, any place we place our hands on our bodies, it brings blood to that area. It reactivates and brings attention there. And the frontal area of our brain is where we think new thoughts. I don't know if you've ever. So here's the technique. You put your hands up here and then you take 3 good deep breaths about anything that's feeling a little heavy or stuck or stressful. And breathe them out so you can hear it. You want to just make a and then you can just let them all just flow away. And what you're doing is the frontal area of the brain is where we think new thoughts. You know, if you've ever seen a baby's head, the forehead is really full because they spend their whole day thinking about new things. That's what they do. Their whole life is about, hey, this is new and this is new and this is new. Um, and then the back part of the area here, occipital, is called that because it's where we literally see from. The part of our brain where the part of our vision actually is processed in the back of our head.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what it's bypassing is the part in the middle where all the emotional stuff is. And so what we're doing is we're sort of rewiring. We're going from this hand down here and around back to the back without getting involved with the emotional stuff in the middle. That was the trigger. The old stuff, the old story. And so being able to do this around anything, like I was thinking about a situation at work that happened a few days ago that I very uncharacteristically have any kind of issues with anybody. And I had somebody just get in my face and it really brought up a lot of stuff for me. And so while I was doing this practice with you, I'm like, I'm just letting go, that her reaction doesn't have to create something different in me. I don't have to push against it. I can just let it go. Um, and so I encourage you, it's something you can teach anybody. It's something you can teach little kids. It's something you can use in the moment for yourself. And you can all help me create a new name for it instead of the FO hold. uh, um, and then I just wanted to talk a teeny bit about, the Nikken products that are really a big support passively for us. The ones that, and maybe each of you have stories about which ones would be the greatest support. For me, the water was what brought me into Nikken. I was introduced to it at a business meeting and somebody just handed me a taste of this water and I went, oh my gosh, this is sweet and it's delicious and it just tastes, it doesn't taste chemically, it doesn't taste harsh, it just was delicious. And I tell people I was already a water snob. I already double filtered my water at home, but it still didn't have this quality of just deliciousness. And I don't know about you, but the more that I enjoy something, the more I'm going to do it. And we all need to have better water.
It's like
Um,
thirst quenching, right? It quenches
yes.
your thirst, and all of a sudden it's like my
Ah,
tongue really wanted
like
it.
it's like, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had seen, I should get the quote out of here. Um, our, one of our local groups, or actually our city just ran a public announcement from the Department of DEQ, that's Department of Environmental Quality. and said that last year they had a bring all your medicine to the bring your prescription drugs drive so that you can keep them out of our water systems and our landfills and have them disposed of correctly. Guess how many tons of prescription drugs they gathered during that day last year?
1 ton, 2 tons?
496 tons
496 tons?
of prescription medications were gathered in these sites around the US.
Wow.
I just kind of went, okay, this is just like the tip of the iceberg of these are just people who are aware and took the time to bring them there instead of flushing them down their toilet.
Right.
But I think about, how many of our environmental factors affect our health without us even knowing it, and how wonderful it is to have a water system that filters so much of that stuff out.
Well, I just got the notice on my water bill that there are higher traces than normal of this. There is no standard test, right? There's no standardized for it, but there's higher. It was 3 things: arsenic, something else, and the other 2 I don't know what they are. But and then it said you're okay if you're on dialysis, but
Because they're flushing it out of your body.
but if you have your fish in a tank, kind of like you know what to do to get rid of the chlorine and the chloramine out of the water.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh Lord, it's not good for fish, but hey, y'all can drink it in your tap water.
You can have it in your tap water. Well, you mentioned arsenic. Arsenic actually has the Environmental Protection Agency has determined and each municipality sets its own kind of rates. As you said, we discovered there's no national standards that every municipality has to meet. Each one makes some of their own guidelines based on their community standards. And arsenic is one that has no acceptable level that it's toxic at any level. And yet, in order to keep in order to save the municipalities from immense amounts of expense to remove it, they've put in an acceptable part per billion or per million. And it, what was it arsenic or one of it's one of the other ones, chloride or fluoride, that actually leaches more lead out of the
fluoride.
Pipes. Yeah, it's the fluoride.
Fluoride that leaches the lead out of the pipes.
Right. So I just look at these different ways that, here I can create not a wellness home just for me, but create a level in which I can just kindly share with people, did you know? I had a young man who was a guest in my Airbnb a week ago, and he's bringing his own food and fixing his meal and doing, this healthy thing. And I said, it's interesting. I don't see you with any form of it seems to be something missing from your packet here, which is water. And he goes, well, I don't know that that's that big a deal. And we had this long discussion about, did he know that was he aware of that? And he just kind of he was in his little bubble of, I'm doing the best I can, which we are all doing. But it was interesting to have that as his baseline for it's, I can go to the gym, I can work out, I can make sure I do these things. But if I'm not drinking the water, and we just have to watch those water videos that we do every week enough to see what those, a little bit of soda does to undo all of your good efforts and it is funny. I mean, I love that Sandra's husband, Al, had come up with that phrase. Here's just a little bit of soda we're going to put in here to see how it changes your environment,
This totally makes it acidic. Now, we were talking earlier about the truth and tapping.
Oh, right.
And I did want to go into some of that because you just know it so well. So anyway.
Well, EFT tapping, or I call it truth tapping, is one of those things that I just have found for my own work really helpful. When my husband died a number of years ago, there was definitely a time of my life where I was in intense grief, the sobbing till you can't even speak kind of thing. And all I could do was and cry, tap and cry. Um, and it really, I could literally feel the difference between, instead of there being this giant um, volume of deep sadness, it got reduced and reduced and reduced to where it was a manageable amount. And I just look at this. So I call it truth tapping because it allows us to look at two different kinds of truths. One is the truth um, that we see in the moment. Someone's been been hurtful to me. Someone's spoken unkindly to me, is one truth. The deeper truth is, and I still love and accept myself, and I still honor my own perspective, and I love who I am in the world. These are truths that coexist. And what we're really trying to do is to take the EFT tapping has just a ton of different scientific studies that have shown how it reduces the fight or flight mechanism in our brains. So anytime that we're triggered or stressed, we're basically wanting to run away from whatever's painful. Our body does an amazing job at keeping us safe. So anything that we deem to be unsafe, whether that's someone who happens to make us sound like our mother did when they were yelling at us, or it doesn't have to be a logical, rational thing. It can be, the triggers that set us off. And so the idea about the tapping is that it's a really simple um, it's an active way to do self-care, particularly when we are in these isolated environments where we don't get to see other people as much and get to have that one-on-one time with others. It's one of the reasons I love it. So it has different practitioners use different points. So if you see somebody who's not doing these, 7 or 8 places, sometimes people do things on different fingers, it's just what their style is.
Mhm.
But the generally accepted ones are that there's these places on the face. So the place is called the eyebrow point. It's basically the inside of the eyebrow. Then the outside of the eye, that's bone that's on the end here. Then there's a bone right at the bottom under your sort of the top of your cheekbone. That's what
Right.
you're kind of going after. And then the place right under your nose and above your chin. And then there's the place in the hollow of your chin. And then there's the place here where it's just your collarbone. Sometimes people do it with a fist, or I've heard people describe it as wherever a man's, necktie would fall, that kind of thing. And then we can do under the breast, or we can go right to the side of the breast. I do two um, on the sides here. I'm trying to see if I can make it more visible. I guess I can do that. Where you're tapping either side, and and then we return to the top of the head, and that's called a round of tapping. And what you're really doing is you're just stating how you feel about something. And then what you usually do is you have a mimic voice. So a practitioner, or if you're watching a video on YouTube where somebody's doing a round, one of my favorite people is Brad Yates. Another person is Carol Look. Each of them have videos on that are free to watch. Brad has over 500 of them that are each about 5 to 12 minutes long about different topics. Even something as simple as before you make your phone calls to prospects, a little video on, I'm going to have a phenomenal day. Um, I choose to have a phenomenal day. I'm going to love and honor myself while I do it, you know, and then, not only I'm going to choose to have a really good day, but today I'm going to have a phenomenal day. It's like you get to sort of ramp up how you feel about things as you go around the points. Really, you can have a lot of fun with it as well. Um,
So take us through one, let's see. Yeah, take us through a phenomenal day. That sounds like a wonderful one. And love and appreciate myself or whatever way that
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and start with and I know a lot of people who are law of attraction people kind of sometimes start with the premise of we shouldn't talk about what we don't want. But the truth is, it's sitting there under the surface, whether it's there. If it's a splinter under the surface, and we go, I'm not hurting, I'm not hurting. It's a lie. Like, so the point is sort of to use the tapping to pull the splinter out, take a look at it, and go, okay, I don't have to focus on that for the rest of the day, but I can actually do something about it. So, Barbara, if you would be willing to be my voice, my echo,
Okay.
and choose something what's a small stressor that you have, even if it's about making phone calls, if we're going to have or getting in touch with your clients, or um, what would be a,
I guess owning the self-confidence,
okay,
solidifying it so that
okay,
I am totally present in
okay,
the moment. Because sometimes I get a little out there and I say the end before the beginning. Kind of.
okay, okay.
So,
So it might be, so if you had if you could rate it for the amount of stress it has on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is very little and 10 is the most,
mhm.
um, if you would say the following, I feel um, self-confident to share my message. How much stress does that?
um, I guess it's like a 5. It's a different, everything shifted during this time. So there
Okay,
is no, because I'm really good person to person. It's
right.
the not, and I'm blunt. I'm a Sag, and I just, I can put, uh, you know,
So
no. So
that's so funny. Um,
yeah,
and that might be a great place to go. Even though I'm blunt with people, I still love and honor myself. Even though in the past I've done some things where afterwards I just thought, whoa. So we could start with that part. So we're going to do an even though, and we're
okay.
going to start. So we're all going to start here, and you guys would just repeat as well. Um,
Why don't we say
and
the flustered or the, scattered, and then
scattered.
bring that
Okay.
back into focus? Because I think
Okay.
that we all have different things happening,
Okay.
especially women. We juggle so
Right.
many things.
So for you, it'd be, what would you desire to have your outcome be? I'd like
Oh,
to
to
be,
be focused and grounded with intention, ground intentionality, or
okay,
have
focused
that.
and on topic. Would it be,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
how does that feel? I mean, you need to use the words that feel good for you, um, that are, because words really do matter in this setting.
Okay.
There are some benefits we can all, and one of the things I should share with you guys is there is a process in EFT tapping where we call borrowing benefits. So even though Barbara and I are doing this particular round, you all would have the benefit of tapping into being connected to what you're watching and observing and what it's bringing up in your own electrical system while it's going on. So you will most likely, you might be surprised to see how much your own stressors about something similar happen, even though you may not talking about your specific topic. It will be close enough to where there's a
So
benefit for
the
you.
end result too, it could also be that my words flow smoothly and graciously.
That's
That is
beautiful.
one of my
Okay.
affirmations that what you
Okay.
call
Okay. Was there a time when the words didn't flow?
yeah. I mean, I
I mean, is there an incident in your life that you might go back to go, oh,
oh, I'm the
there's
youngest
is
of
it
9. Are you kidding? The minute I got the floor, it was like I didn't know what to say.
That's funny. I'm the eighth of 9 children, so I appreciate your position. Um, so for you, it was not being able to speak out in your family
At the right time. Yes,
at
yes,
the right time. Okay.
yes.
So those are all great things to just kind of have it doesn't mean that there's a big psycho, drama thing going on, but it can be. There's still some residual feeling because Nikan's kind of like a family. We're having to speak up in our family.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do started. What was your phrase again for your affirmation? To speak with ease,
To speak with grace and ease.
grace, and ease. Okay, so we're going to start and just go through a couple rounds of letting go of what might be getting in the way, and then reinforcing the
Okay.
outcome. So we're going to start with this karate chop point. Even though
Even though
I have a history
I have a history
of not always being able to speak my truth,
of not always being able to speak my truth,
I still choose to love and honor myself.
I still choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I come from a big family
Even though I come from a big family
and I wasn't always given a voice,
and I wasn't always given a voice,
I choose to love and honor myself now.
I choose to honor and love myself now.
Even though
Even though
I would love to have more grace and ease,
I would love to have more grace and ease,
I choose to have
I choose to have
kindness and grace toward myself
kindness and grace toward myself
as this becomes more of the norm for me.
as this becomes more of the norm for me.
Okay. So I come from a big family.
I come from a big family.
We're going to come up here now. I come from a big family.
I come from a big family.
Lots of voices were heard.
Lots of voices were heard.
Mine wasn't always given the biggest, wasn't always given the greatest attention.
Mine wasn't always given the greatest attention.
Sometimes I felt like I wasn't being heard at all.
Sometimes I felt like I wasn't being heard at all.
I wonder if there's another possibility.
I wonder if there's another possibility.
I really choose
I really choose
and really desire
and really desire
let's see, to speak with ease and grace,
to speak with ease and grace,
to share my message easily,
to share my message easily,
to let go of anything that feels salesy,
to let go of anything that feels salesy,
and just be authentic.
and just be authentic.
I choose to be my authentic self.
I choose to be my authentic self.
And I love who I am when I'm being that.
And I love who I am when I'm being that.
And I love to share that with others.
And I love to share that with others.
I wonder if I can let go of any of the stress that sometimes shows up
I wonder if I can let go of the stress that sometimes shows up
when I go to have a conversation.
when I go to have a conversation.
And I'm so eager
And I'm so eager
that they get what they need,
that they get what they need,
that I sometimes am not as clear as I like to be.
sometimes I'm not as clear as I'd like to be.
I wonder if I can forgive myself for any time in the past when this has happened.
I wonder if I can forgive myself for any time in the past when this has happened.
I think I'm going to choose that more often.
I think I'm going to choose that more often.
In fact, that feels really good to choose that now.
In fact, that feels really good to choose that right now.
I think that's the beginning of having the ease,
I think that's the beginning of having the ease,
to give the ease to myself,
to give ease to myself,
to honor myself in my process,
to honor myself in my process,
to know that I wasn't born as a great speaker.
to know I wasn't born as a great speaker.
And lots of this takes practice.
And lots of this takes practice.
Sometimes it's just getting familiar with the content.
Sometimes it's just getting familiar with the content.
And sometimes it's just making sense of all this marketing nonsense.
And sometimes it's just making sense of all this marketing nonsense.
What if marketing was just sharing our stories?
What if marketing was just sharing our stories?
What if we could
What if we could?
create greater ease
What if we could create greater ease by just sharing our story
every day? By just sharing our story. That's right.
We did.
Okay. In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
Let me just shake it off. Yeah. What I didn't get you to do was to judge how you, well, you said you were feeling a 5. Now, if you were to say, I feel easeful and
Oh, it's so
self-confident.
calming. There was a point where I had a little tear, like I was like,
Mhm.
oh, you know,
Yeah.
and just giving myself that love and appreciation, or
Mhm.
it was in that part, but that the forgiveness and the allowing, it was like, oh
Mhm.
my,
Yeah.
this is awesome. And I have done this, before, but I don't remember all the steps. And yes, um, my later part of my spirituality has been in new thought, and that, and
Mhm.
I really had issues sometimes declaring the
Yeah.
old way,
Right.
but
Right.
it's awesome. It's great. It really is.
Right. Well, think about it this way: if you had if if the part of you that's upset or not getting what you need to take the next step was a 4-year-old version of you, a little child next to you, how would you want to treat them? How would they want to be treated? Do they want to be dismissed? Hey, get over this, grow up, just you know um,
Suck it up.
become an instant master. Like, we can be so impatient with ourselves when we're so patient with others. um, and if we just gave ourselves the grace and ease to be kinder to ourselves as we learn this process.
Yeah.
I went through, a degreed, as a graphic designer, I went through a full college degree, 4 years of stuff. I made great grades. I had wonderful projects, whatever, but they never taught us a single thing about running a business.
Mm.
Now, about 90% of us end up being freelancers that are now called entrepreneurs, where we have to take care of our business.
Yeah.
And we weren't taught to do that. And yet, gosh, how easy is it to go, wow, I'm really not good at business, when the truth is you might be brilliant at this aspect of it and might need to say, hey, I'd love to get some support with this other part.
Right. Right.
you know, if it's the technology, if it's the, like, just being able to ask and forgive yourself from, I'm really frustrated that I can't get this technology right, is an authentic feeling that's stuck in your body if it doesn't get expressed.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, the other side to it is, if you become a complaining, whining, repeating robot, you end up recreating that complaining, whining, you know, robotic experience. But I don't see this group of women as that. I see us all as really capable and strong and skilled. But I'm not capable and strong and skilled at everything. I know what I know really well, but I don't really do my accounting at this particular level of mastery. You
Well,
know,
and they do
so
say that the masters do
mhm,
have, they know what they're really good at.
mhm,
And I'm a promoter, right?
yeah,
I'm a promoter, and that's what I'm really good at.
mhm,
The a sub out, like you said, the accounting
yeah,
and web design, and
yeah,
I love that I do the recordings here,
mhm,
because
yeah,
that was a lesson. This has
yeah,
been a learning, and doing it on a different site. Now, because you are a healer, and
mhm,
a lot of things, and actually, I wanted to underline, there's been some amazing times I've gotten intuitive hits all the time when we used to do the rollouts and just
mhm,
have that intimate time with that person.
okay,
I would just have questions come up, and I just started
mhm,
allowing them. And once you start trusting yourself, you understand that this is, you know, your higher intuitive self connecting with them, or guides, whichever way you want to talk about it, that
right,
they are coaching us and helping us,
mhm,
and I would just go, do you have trouble with your stomach? They're like, God, how did you know? And I
mhm,
would, but
mhm.
pretty amazing.
Well,
There is a
I
question.
love that because you're actually acknowledging that you and that person or that person's body are communicating.
Hmm.
because you're in a place of allowance. You don't have an agenda. You're not trying to like, let me find out where her weak spot is. It's let me be a conduit for greater health and wellness.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I just started back doing reflexology on people. I've been a reflexologist for over
oh, beautiful.
17 years. And it's like an egg cutter, right? You when you
Hmm.
touch the feet, it's
Oh,
that whole side of the body is being affected.
and it's so
And I
nurturing.
just said,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
wow, you're uh do you have issues with your sex organs?" Like I was just kind of feeling it. And she had
Yeah.
she had had them removed, and she forgot to tell me that she had had a hysterectomy. I asked
Right.
certain questions, and she goes, "Oh,
Right.
I don't have that." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's probably why this is more tender here than normal."
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool. So when you use the grounding pad with your clients, how do
Right.
you keep it sanitized? That's what one of the questions is in the chat.
I often, how do I keep it sanitized? It's an interesting question. Um, its instructions are to wipe it down damp. You don't want to wet it because of the silver fibers in it. Um, and so I use a all botanical product called Benefect. It's a made out of thyme oil. It's on the bottle. It says it kills 99% of all um, germs,
Okay.
with this contact. And I do that as well as intentionally focusing on those things. I mean, with the grounding pad, it's most effective when it's skin on skin. I tend to use it more for my clients under their legs, less so on their feet, that kind of thing. I use it under the neck, places that don't have as much, I guess, um, capacity for creating, you know, something being funky. But
Yeah.
um,
I've
I
done fairs, health
I
fairs.
also I don't know if that
I use
helps with that.
colloidal silver. I make people put colloidal silver on their hands, and then I just
Right.
have it on a table, and everybody just sits and they just chat. And I say you
Hmm.
need to sit for at least 10 minutes in your
Hmm.
hands on the pad. So that's what I do.
Right. That's
Uh,
beautiful. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I actually use colloidal silver myself, and um, I think offering it in a form that can be utilized makes a lot of sense as well because it's a nanoparticles level, and so it doesn't take a lot of liquid to be able to do it.
it's
Um,
interesting. It's a good question there. Well,
mhm.
we've stirred up a lot. We've continued to do a lot. So these are educational videos to support us. And I like to say our tribe, our people as
Yeah,
we come together and grow in NECAM because we're always growing. I'm always learning and creating. So get with the person that shared this tape with you, this video with you. And thank you for taking this time.